In today's video, we're going to be creating a different version of our website. We're not going to make any serious modifications. There are going to be some modifications, but it's not going to be that much. Like, for example, we have this section. We're going to change that. We're going to entirely change the layout of our menu section, and then we're going to swap out some images, and we're also going to change I'm just scrolling down so you can see it. We also change the footer section, and we're going to change this philosophy section as well. The other parts of the changes are going to be just some images, but yeah, that's the dark layout for our restaurant website. So let's get started. In order to create our dark version, we're going to create a copy of all of our web pages. I'm currently in the page that says all web pages. So what you're going to do is, if you created your designs as well as your prototype in the same page, just use the same page. So I just navigated back to where I have all my web pages. I'm going to select the entire home page. I'm going to just deselect the style guide, and then I'm going to duplicate the entire website desktop layout. Same thing with this one. I'm going to select the entire tablet layout, and then I'm going to create a copy, and then finally I'm going to select the entire mobile layout, and then I'm going to create a copy of it. Let's come to the home page. What we're basically going to do is invert our colors. So let me zoom out a bit. Select the home page, and we're going to change under selection colors, change all text colors to the background color, and you see that everything will disappear. Under the fill for the entire frame, change that to text color instead. So there are still some areas we're going to have to make some changes to individually. Select this frame, and I know that there is text here. So for this background, so the fill for this frame, all we need to do is change it to text color. So you are changing the fill for the frame. Same thing here. I'm going to select this frame. The fill should be text. Okay, we'll have to do the same for this. Let me select this. So the fill is going to be the text color. You know what, under selection colors, whatever is this color, I'll just change it to text because that makes it easier. Same with this one. Whenever you see this background color, change it to text. We're still going to have to change it again, text. I know it's a bit tedious, but it's not as this is going to be the footer section. The footer section, we're actually going to change the design slightly. So under fill, we already let me select it because I know we're using a rectangle here. So select just the rectangle and change that to the text color. This we're going to have to fix because it was there's the text here, so I know the text is there, and I'm going to change the text color for, so we have a text here. We're going to leave it as, once the how will I say this, want the footer to be the same color with the background, but I want to just add a little detail to it. So click on this and select the rectangle. So select the rectangle that is behind this footer section, and then we're going to add a stroke. But under stroke, you see this individual strokes, open it, and we're going to use only top. And then under stroke again, we're going to change the stroke style. We're going to use restaurant gradient 1, and when we open it, we'll just have this line at the top of it while we still have this footer section. For the next part of this process, we're going to reuse this one. Instead of doing it for all of them, we're just going to copy it. Hopefully that wasn't too quick, but that is how we're going to still come back to modify this page, but for now let's just go through all of them and change their colors before we now focus on redesigning there's not much. It's just the menu page, some pages here, and some cards it's not much. Well, let's move on to the next one, which is the menu. So select the menu page, and once again start by changing the text color to the background. So anything that has that text color is going to change to the background color. Go to the fill of the entire frame and then change it to text. So we have this issue now where something like this, now we're having these issues. That's not an issue. We're just going to change the fill to text. Here I'm going to select this. I just want, this time what we want is this backdrop is going to be dark. So the text is already white. We're going to change the fill for all of them to that dark color. Same thing here, here, and here. Under fill, change it to text, and then I'm going to select all of this. We're going to change the fill to text color this time. If you want to, you can save it. If it's a bit confusing to use where it says text here, swapping the colors, you can resave them again. So this time maybe you can say dark version background, then the background color will be the text, and you can say dark version text. Then what we use as the text color will now be what we use as the background color will now be text color, if that makes sense. But again, this is just a personal project, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to change this. We're still going to redesign this text, so it might seem redundant, but you know, it's going to make things easier to just go through it one by one and make sure we're not missing anything, since we are referencing, we know what the original design looks like, and that's why we are going to use it. So I'm going to copy the footer section from here and just replace it here, and with that we've changed this. The reason, and this is why I just realized that this should be the opposite. So the fill should be this text color, and the fill for this one should be the background color. Oh, what I was trying to say was, I said I'm going to redesign the menu and redesign this section, but I'm not doing it now. I'm doing that just in case you want a one-to-one copy, a one-to-one dark version of the entire website. You can have that. That is not my goal, but if it's something you're interested in, before I make any changes, you can have a dark version. But I'm going to change some details like some images, some sections, and things like that. So let's continue. Select the about page. Let's change text color first. So I find that's much easier to work with. So select text color and change it to the background color, and then under fill we're going to change this to text. Come over here, all we need to do is change the fill of this frame to this text color. Here we need to change the fill to text. For the footer section, I'm going to copy and replace. I'm going to select gallery, start with text color, change it to background, and then under fill change it to text. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to change the fill to text, and I'm going to copy this and I'm going to replace. Reservations, start with text color, change it to background, and then under fill change it to text. Select this, change the fill to text, and I'm just going to select this. So under selection colors, I'll just change it to text color. Same with these two. I'll just select both of them so I can do. And under selection colors, I'm going to change it to text. And I'm going to copy the footer section from this page and replace. Let me just get closer. make sure I'm not making any mistakes. I'm going to come here, change all text color to the background color, and then I'm going to come over to fill, change it to text. Here, change the fill to text color. This one, fill is going to be text. Okay, this two also, we're going to need to change the fill for these to text, and for these we're going to change the fill to text. This footer section, grab a copy from any of the previous pages and replace. Finally, we have the contact page. We're going to change. Now let's start with text. Change text to background, and then under fill, change it to text. We can now change the color here. Under fill, change it to text. I'm going to select these two lines, and when under selection colors, change background color to text. Let's now replace the footer section with one of these. You can remove this line and maybe invert the colors here if you want just a dark version, or just leave it as it is. But essentially, this is a dark version of our website. Now I'm going to do the same for tablets. So come over to tablets. I'm going to select that. Under selection colors, select text and then change it to background. Then under fill, change it to text. Select this frame and under fill, change it to text. Select this frame, under fill, where is it? Under fill, change it to text, and then for these lines, go to selection colors and then change background color to text. Same here, selection colors, change it to text. I'm going to zoom out, no changes there. This we're just going to invert, then add a line to the top of the rectangle. So I'm going to select the rectangle, just the rectangle, and I'm going to change the fill to text. Next, I'm going to add a stroke. Go to stroke, add stroke, and then individual strokes, make it just stop, and then under color styles, use gradient 1 for that. Let's now change the color of the text back to what it's supposed to be, which is text, like this. Now I'm going to scroll to the top. I'm going to select this. Under selection colors, change text to background, and then under fill, change the background color to text. Select this section, under fill, let's make this background, and then I'm going to do this. I'll do 3 at once. Start with this, fill, change to text here. Select these frames, change the fill to text, and this one also, change the fill to text. I want to select the entire frame, change this to text, and next is the dessert section. I'm going to change the fill to text. This is going to be text. We have the final section. change fill to text, and then change the fill to text. I'm going to skip the footer for now so I can do all of them at once instead of changing each one individually. I'm going to select the tablet page, change text color to background, and then change fill to the fill for the entire frame to the text color. Select that frame there, change the background color to text, and then here we can do the same thing. Fill, we're going to change it to text. Let's move to the next page. Select the gallery page, whatever is text, change it to background, and then under fill, change it to text color. Let's select this frame, change the fill to text, and I can scroll down. No other changes need to be made here. Let's move to the next one. Reservations, select text, change it to background, and under fill, change it to text. Select this frame, fill, change it to text, and then for these lines I can just select all of them. Under selection colors, where it's background, change it to text. We're going to leave the footer. We can move on to the next one. Let's go to the event page. Let's go over to select text and change it to background, and then in fill, change it to text. I'm going to select this section, change the fill to text, this to text, and then I'm going to select this, change it to text, this three also, change it to text. I'm going to scroll down. No other changes need to be made except the footer section. And now for the tablet, select text color, change it to the background color, and under fill, change it to text. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to change the fill to text. Select these two lines. Under selection colors, just change the background color to text color. I'm going to zoom out, copy the footer section, and then I'm going to replace, and we have our tablet version of this dark. This one, the overlay, we're going to invert the colors of the overlay, because if you create a prototype for this, when it comes over the page is already dark colored, so you want the overlay to be light so there can be some contrast. So the text is colored. Okay, we'll use the background color for text, and then under fill, change it to background. That's it. Let's start with home page. Text color, change it to background. Under fill, change it to text. I'm going to select this section, go to fill, change it to text. Let me zoom out. Okay, we need it, and we need to change this fill, change it to text. Select this line, under selection colors, change this to text. Same with this one, change this to text. Select the footer section. I'm going to just change I need to select the rectangle, so let me just select where I feel like. If you're not sure, just go to the selection panel and then select the rectangle. Change the fill to text. Now we're going to add a stroke, and then under individual strokes, we're going to make it top, and then under color styles, we're going to make it gradient 1. And this is our footer. Let's now move on to the menu page. Select the menu page, under selection colors, change all text color to background, and I'm going to change background color to text. Under this frame, change the fill to text, and I'm going to do 3 at a time. I'm going to select these 3. under fill, change it to text color. I'm going to select these three, change it to text. Select these 3 frames, change it to text. I'm going to select, I skipped one, select this 3, change to text. Select this 3, change to text. Oops, wrong. I want to select just the frame. Let's do the same for these. And then the final section, I'm going to leave the footer section. We'll come back and do that later. Select the about page. We're going to change all text color to background, and then under fill, going to change fill to the text color. Here, select the frame, change the fill to text. Next up is this. Change the fill to the text color. Now we can move on to gallery. Under selection colors, select text, change it to background, and then under fill, change it to text. Select this frame, change the fill to text. I'm going to scroll down, see if there's any other thing that needs changing. There isn't, so we can move on. Under reservations, we're going to change, let's start with text. Let's start with text. Going to make that background color, and under fill, we'll change it to text. For this frame, change the fill to text, and then for these lines, just go over to selection colors, and whatever shows up as background, change it to text. Select the events page. Under selection colors, change the text color to background. Under fill, change it to text. Select this frame, change the fill to text. I'm going to select this frame, change the fill to text. Now we're going to change the fill for these frames, for these 3 images. Under fill, change it to text, and then I'm going to change this to text also. Final one is contact. I'm going to select text color, change it to background, and under fill, change it to text. This frame, change the fill to text color, and then under selection colors, we'll change it to text. Final detail is the footer section. I'm just going to copy it. Let me replace this one first, since it's really long. I don't have to try and locate it. I'll just select all of this, okay, and then I'm going to replace. I'm just going to get closer to make sure. Oh, it would seem I made a mistake. I didn't change the text color for this. That's why you always check. There are easier ways to do this, but for now, since we're using the free version, this is what we're going to do. Or easier, more convenient ways to do this. Okay, I'm just going to select the footer sections. You can change them individually if you want to, but I'm just going to do this. Alright, I'm going to zoom out, and now we have a one-to-one dark version of our website. But my thought process essentially was, if I'm going to create a dark version, let me at least make some changes. And when I was creating the project, when I was designing it, I got so hung up on some certain design elements I just couldn't let go of. So instead of leaving those design, even the images were changing. I really liked the idea of using some images against others. That's why I created two versions, since I couldn't stick to one design, and that's why we're going to have two. If you want to have a one-to-one dark version of this one, you can leave this one and then create another duplicate again. There's no problem. That means you have three unique versions. You have this one, the light version, you have this dark version, and then you have a third redesigned version of this dark one. So you can have three, but I want to stick to two, but I just want to redesign some things in this project. So the first thing we're going to do is change this image, this one here. So I'm just going to go in and bring the image I'm going to use for this particular page. We'll go through them one by one, and what I want to change here, I'm going to bring the image. We're not going to change much. I think it's just this image and this one here we're going to change. So I'm going to bring in the images, and then we'll start the process of redesigning our page. Okay, now that I have my images, we can now go ahead and make some changes. This image, the width is 1440 and the height is 925. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to modify this image. The width is going to be 1440. Oops, 1440, not 144. And I'm going to reduce this to 950. So I'm going to double click the image so I can crop this image just a little bit. I'm going to select this image, cut, and I'm going to come over here and then replace the image here. That's it for that section, really. And for this, once again, I just get really attached to some images, and those images tend to look really good to me. And I just keep thinking to myself, what if I had a different image? So I just decided to use both. I'm going to select this. I want to check the dimensions of the image. The image is 3840 and the height is 535. So width will be 384. Yes, 384 by 535. So I'm just going to get closer, reduce this to 535, and maybe I could just move it up to center the image, and then I'm going to cut and then replace. Then I'm going to go to my notes and I'm going to copy the new description and I'm going to paste it there. In this case, we have 3 lines on this, so it has moved slightly. Don't worry, when we redesign this, we're going to have to redo the spacing, so we'll fix that later. I'm going to select this section and I'm going to ungroup this. I'm going to move this section to this side and I'm going to delete. Oops, I wanted just to delete the image. I'm going to ungroup and select only the image and delete it. We're not going to need it for this section. This frame, ungroup, and you can delete these lines, and now we have just these 3 texts. We're going to reuse these text boxes, so move this one here. This one is going to be the center, and this. Now we're going to need some icons, and then we're also going to reinsert some lines. So we're going to run Iconify. So I'm going to go to plugins and I'm going to run Iconify. I'm going to search for wine, and the icon I want to use is this one. I'm going to bring it into our frame. Next is going to be menu. I'm just going to scroll till I find the one I want. I'm going to use, let's say, this one. I'm going to use that, and then I'm going to use, once again, when it comes to icons here, I'm really not paying attention to the icon sets, but typically it's a good idea to use icons from the same icon set. So I'm going to search for dining this time, and I want to use this one. I'm going to close this. I'm going to select all three of them and change their dimensions to 100 by 100. And now I can just grab this. This one is going to be for this. This is going to be for this. This is going to be for this. Now let me just grab these three items. I'm going to select this and this. Auto layout, and alignment is set to center. That's fine. The width for I just left the width as there. It's 326. Just leave it. No need to change anything. I'm going to select this too, make it an auto layout. Alignment is center. The gap, but let's just do all of them, then I'll come back and fix the gap. So they have wonky gaps now. So the gaps for all three individually is going to be 20. Now let's insert a line. So I'm just going to grab a line and I'm going to draw it like this first. Let's change the width to 250, and then let's go to stroke, open our style library, and let's use restaurant gradient 1. And now I'm going to hold shift down and then rotate it like this. What I want to do now is kind of have, if I wanted to be exact, I'm going to measure things out and kind of figure out exactly where everything goes, but I just want to have the line sort of in the center of this gutter. So I'll just move it around. I'm not sure if this is really the center, but I just want it to be somewhere around there. And then I'm going to create a copy of this line and also try to have it where I feel like it's the center. It feels like it would do better if it was little to the left, and that's what I'm going to do. Next is select all of these. I'm going to, what I want is the spacing of 40 between the line and each individual one. So I'm going to select, the lines will move, but I want the items to move closer to the line, if it makes sense. So currently I have 53, so I'm just going to use my arrow. It's currently 43. I'll just move it 40. This one, I'm going to select this two. I'm holding shift, and this time it's 40 from the line. I'm going to select this two. It's currently 42, so I'll move the line a little bit to the right. Like I said, this is not perfect, but I'm not too bothered about that. 40 like this. I'm now going to select all of them. Hopefully I'm not moving too fast. I want to change I want to align all of them to the top, so I'll use alignment and then align top, and this is what it should look like. And I'm just going to group it. So essentially we have our icons, reuse text, these lines. All you just need to do is have 40 as spacing in between all of them. Try and find like a sort of center between these two gutters, place those lines, and then just group them. Don't worry too much about using auto layout, because we're going to redesign, and since there isn't much, it's going to be fine. Now I'm going to select all three. Let this be in the center, don't move it to the left. Select all three of them. This is going to stay where it is. Change spacing to 25 and then group. What's left now is spacing, so I'm going to zoom out. So we didn't make any, the only change we had was here, from here downwards. So we'll select all of this and then come over to spacing, and we're going to change that to 200. And now I can reduce the height of this. It's going to be a tad difficult because I can't see the bottom of my footer section, but what I'm waiting for is some sort of indication. Let me see. 4. You can change the color of the footer section to help you, but again, I'm not going to do that. We haven't even taken a moment to look at our dark version in the prototype view, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to run the prototype. I have to change device. I'll go back to, let me open prototype, show prototype settings, and I'm going to select no device. Let's go back and I'm going to select fit width, and now let me locate my page. Okay, so this is the dark version of our page. Typically, I tend to have a bias towards dark colored pages. This hasn't loaded yet. I tend to have a bias towards dark colored pages. It's just anytime something is in a dark format, I just tend to like it more. Once again, you'll notice that these icons are different. Again, I really didn't think too much about it. If you're going to use this as part of your portfolio, maybe you should change it, but for now I just left it as it is. So let's just scroll down so we can see the entire thing as it is. So this is the home page of our dark version. Now let's now move on to the menu, which has the most in terms of redesigning in this section. I'm going to move. There's no need to move things out, so we're going to reuse this. I'm going to ungroup and then ungroup again. We're going to, all of these are still groups. I'm going to select all of them and still ungroup. We want all the images to be separate from these frames because we're going to reuse them. We're going to change the alignment and spacing of this entire page. So we're probably going to, I want to move my items down. I'm going to just select all of this and I'm going to move this down because I want to give myself more space to work with. We're going to have 2 items per row instead of this one that is 3. I'm just going to move this. So I want us to focus on these 2, and then I'll do this first section. Don't worry, it's not going to be too difficult. We're going to do this first section and then you can do the other 3 by yourself. I'm going to pause the video then come back. We're going to change the dimensions of this image. So starting with this image, I'm just going to reduce the width till it's on 3 columns, not 4. The width here is 282 and I want our image now to be a perfect square, so we're going to change the height so that it's now 282 by 282. So I'm going to double click and I'm going to crop this image so that it's now 282. The height is also 282. Okay, now I'm going to change I'm just going to move this image so that we have this. Let's see this. I'm going to close this. Now this is going to be on the edge of this column. As for the text, I'm going to bring it here. The text, the width is going to be, okay, it's 331. We could just leave it like that so that you don't have to change the width. What we'll do is change the alignment of text and also add some space. So what I'm going to do here is, you could use 2 separate text boxes if you wanted to, but to keep things simple, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use enter so that we have a spacing between our text, and then change the alignment of text to left. And I'm also going to select this top section and make it bold. Hopefully that wasn't too complicated, if that makes sense. So what I just did is change the alignment of text, add an extra empty line, and just sort of remove that dash, and then made this top a bold, made the top text bold. Now for the placement of this rectangle, it's at the center of the image, so align it to the height. Really doesn't matter for the frame. The frame will change depending on the length of text. It's just the width that is the issue. The width is already set. So all you have to do is find the center of this, and you have one menu card and you can group it. Let me do the same for this one. We're going to do it for this first 6 and then you can do the rest yourself. This one is going to come next to this here, so I'll just reduce the width like this. Now I'm trying to align it to the top of the image so that I don't have to start really paying much attention to the height because Figma is going to help me out. And then I'm just going to change the focus of the image like this. Next up is this. I'm going to bring this up. Next, I'm just going to select the text, change the alignment to left, and then from here I'm going to separate the name of the dish and the description. Select the name of the dish and make it bold, and then I'm just going to align this text to the center of this image. Just to make sure, if you're not sure, just use Alt V and nothing changed because it's already aligned, and then I'm going to group, and that's how we're going to have all of them. Let's do this again. Like I said, we'll do for this first section before you can go ahead and try for yourself. I'm going to reduce it to, let it be on 3 lines. Let me just bring in the text so I don't forget it. I'm going to select this, reduce the height so that it's 282, and I'm going to just move the image so that the focus can be on the dish like this, and that looks good. Then I'm going to, so the edge of the text should be on the edge of the 6th column, and I'm going to select this, just remove that dash, and then I'm going to add a line, change the alignment of the text to left, make this bold, and then I'm going to select this image, this text, Alt V to align vertically, and then I'm going to group. Let's move on to the next one. So that's going to be this. Let me get closer, and I'm going to align this to the 3rd column, on 3 columns rather, and I'm going to double click on this, reduce the height to 282, and then I'm going to recenter the dish, and I'm going to grab this, select the text, let's change the alignment of the text to left, and I'm going to remove this dash, separate the name of the dish and the description, make the name of the dish bold, select this to align it vertically, and then group. I'm going to do the final to space things out, and then I'm going to leave it so you can I'm going to stop recording, and then you can do the rest yourself. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to reduce the width so it's on 3 columns, and I'm going to reduce the height so it's 282, and I'm just going to just recenter this image, and I'm going to grab the text, select the text box, change the alignment to left, and I'm going to separate the name of the dish and the description, then make the name of the dish bold, select both items, align vertically, and group. Then we have this. I'm going to reduce this, and I'm going to reduce the height of this to 282, and then I'm going to move this, grab the text box, and then I just want to make sure it's on the edge, select the text, change the alignment of text to left, separate the dish name and description, make the name of the dish bold, and then Alt V to align vertically, and then group. For the spacing between this subheading and this is going to be any of the items. You can pick either of these two. It's going to be 25, and I can just use this to align this to make sure this is 25. Then the spacing between these items is going to be 24. And I'm also going to do the same for this side. Make the spacing 24. Now I can just select everything and then group, and we've redesigned one section of our menu. So again, all you need to do is reduce the width of your image size on 3 columns. The width will be 382. Change the height so it's also 382. Just refocus on whatever the main part of the dish is. Focus on that. Separate the dish name and description. Remove that dash in between. Put a space in between the dish name and the dish description. Change the alignment of the text to left. Align the text box to the middle of this one and then group. Then you can do the spacing. I'm going to stop recording here, and I'm going to do the rest. I'm going to redesign the other sections of our menu page, and then I'm going to come back. Alright, I've gone ahead and modified all of the menu items, and we can just take a moment to look at them. So some images, I just had to move the images around, crop them differently. But yeah, it really doesn't matter how you do it. Just do it how you're comfortable. I think this, I also changed how I magnified this one. Even I brought more of the image back into the frame. So let's fix the spacing. Between this and this is going to be 200. That's fine. I'm going to select all the menu sections, and I'm going to make that the spacing 200. Now we have that extra text. Okay, it's way down for me. I'm going to select the last menu section and the text, make the spacing 25, and from that text to this footer section it's going to be 200. And I'm going to reduce this. I just want to make sure. I'll select the group, and then okay, that seems fine. Now I'm just going to take a moment to look at it in the prototype view. So I'll go to the menu so we can see the new menu section, the new menu page, and there we go. This is what our new menu section looks like. So I really couldn't settle on which one I liked better, so I just decided to do both. So if you prefer this one, you can use it as your primary design. If you prefer the other one, you can leave the other one. And just going to go back to the design tab. Okay, so the next page is the about page, and we're going to change this image as well. Once again, just an image I couldn't pass up on using. So width is 1440 and height is going to be 350. It's inverted for this one because we rotated the image. So the width here is going to be 1440, and I'm going to crop this image to 350. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to change the focus of this image. So let's say right around here. Okay, just let's say the center, like that. I'm going to cut the image, and then I'm going to replace it here. Then we're going to change these numbers to icons. So what I'm going to do is just run Iconify, right click, go to plugins, and then I'm going to run Iconify. First icon I want is search for, oh no, let's use leaf instead. That will make things much easier to find the icon I want. And I want this icon, this one where you have this hand with this leaf over it. And then we're going to search for fire, and I'm going to use this one. bring it into our frame. Next, I'm going to search for wine. We're going to use the same icon we used in the home page. I'm just going to use this, and then finally we have just search for plates. We're going to use this icon. To figure out the dimensions of this icon, we're going to check the height of this. So this is currently 72, so we'll change the height of all these icons. It's also going to change the width. We'll change all of them to 72 by 72. So I'm going to cut this, and then I'm going to replace, cut, and then replace, cut, replace, and then the final one, I'm going to cut and replace the icon. In this case, I couldn't decide whether I wanted to use numbers or the icon. Let's select the entire section. Now you'll see that the icons came in as white, so we can just change it to the background color so that everything is uniform. We could just briefly look at it in the design tab, and this is what it looks like. So this is the new background for the about us page. Nothing there, nothing really there. And then we have this new our philosophy section cards. So yeah, that's it. We can now move on to the next. I think gallery. We're just going to change some images in the gallery page. So let me just go in and grab the images we're going to swap in the gallery. So for the rest of the modifications we're going to do, it's all going to be based on images. We're going to just swap some images, and that's it. So let's start with this one. I just brought in all the images I'm going to use. I also created copies because I'm going to change this for tablets and then for the mobile layout. We're going to swap this one. The width is going to be 1440, height is going to be 350. That's what we're going to do. So width is 1440, and I'm going to modify the height so that it's 350, and I'm going to zoom into the image like this, maybe something similar to what we have in the original homepage. I'm just going to cut this and then replace. I want to replace this image. So 1200, the width is 1200 and the height is 375. So that's what I'm going to use. The image we're going to substitute it for is this one. So I'm going to change the width to 1200 and the height is 375, right? Yeah, 375. So I'm going to crop this to 375. And I'm just going to move this to about here, and then I can cut this image and then replace this image with it. Next is this image. Width is 690, height is 450. So let me start with the width. 690 for the width, and the height is 450. So this one I'll have to increase it. So increase it to 450. And I'm just going to increase this. Let's cut the image, go back to our gallery, and want to replace this behind the scenes, the first image. Next up is going to be this one, we're going to swap it 1200 by 375. So width is going to be 1200 and the height is going to be 275. I hope I got that right. 270. Why does it feel kind of narrow? Let me just carry on. If I made a mistake, I feel like it's a bit narrow. Yeah, I was right, it was a bit narrow. It's 375. And I'm just going to change this, and I'm going to replace that image there. And that's it for the gallery. The only other modification we're going to make is in this section, the event section. So we're going to start with this. This is 1440 by 350. So we're starting with this image width. Make the width 1440, and I'm going to crop this to 350. And I'm going to just move this so that we can have the book focus on this plate, this dish and fork here. Let me see, just a little bit like this. And now I can select the image, cut it, and then I'm going to replace. Next up is this. Width is 1200, height is 630. Let me change the width first. Height is 630. Let me zoom out, and you know what, there's no need to let me see, this looks okay to me, so I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to cut this and then replace. Next is this tree. I'm going to check the dimensions for this tree. Width is 384, height is 590. 384. So I'm just going to select all of them, change width to 384, and I'm going to change the height to 590 for all of them. And I'm just going to grab this image and then resize. Let's do the same for this one. I'm going to double click and we're going to increase this to 590. I'm going to close that, and then finally going to increase this one to 590. Okay, so we're going to start with this one. I'm going to cut and then oops, wrong. I replaced the entire group. I just want to replace the image. I'm going to cut this, and then finally this one. And that's it for this one. I just wanted to change some images since, well, I was like, okay, it's essentially not the same thing, so let's make things different. For the tablet, I would say you can do it yourself because it's just a slightly smaller version of the desktop, and just follow the same steps I use in the case of this one, just check the height of the text that was used here, and then just use exactly the same. You can even reuse the actual icons here and just reuse it in your tablet. So you just do the same with the tablet, the same format, make it a perfect square here, and then put the text on the side to reformat this. But I will show you how to do the mobile version of our menu, because it's going to be different, but actually not that different from this one due to its orientation. So the mobile version is going to be slightly different. I'm going to do the first 6, and then you can do the rest yourself. What I'm going to do is select this and ungroup. So these are individual groups. We can ungroup it so that we can work on it, then group it back once again. I'm going to increase the size of this image. We just brought it in straight from the desktop without making any modification. So I want to see what the length is. The length for the entire columns is 392, and we want this image to be a perfect square. So I'm going to make the height 392. Next, we're going to just leave the width of this text box as it is. We're not going to make any changes. But what we're going to do is make the same modifications we did with the other one. Select the text, change the alignment of text to left, and I'm going to give spacing between the name of the dish and the description. Make this part bold, and then I'm going to grab this frame. I'm going to select this image. Maybe I should have cropped it a bit, put it more in focus like this. Okay, select this image and this frame, come over to spacing and make the spacing minus 25 like that, and then you can group it, and that's it. We're going to do the same for this one. I'm going to ungroup, double click, and I'm going to reduce this to 384. I'm going to increase, just raise it up like this, and then I was supposed to increase it, sorry about that. 392. Since I've already changed it, it was just easy to change. I'm going to change the alignment to left, remove this dash, and put the line between the dish description and the dish name. Make the name of the dish bold, and then select this one, bring it up, and then I'm going to make the spacing minus 25, and then I can group. Let's now move on to this one. Is there any need for me to do? Let me just do one more, because as I'm doing it, it feels so monotonous. So I'm just like, probably it's something you could just do on your own. I'm going to, even if I reduce it, I can just, the dimensions are locked, so once I reduce it, I can always increase it back. I'm going to reduce that, and I'm going to realign this, and then just going to increase the width. Next is this text. I'm going to change the alignment to left, and then clear this, make this bold, and then I'm going to raise this, select the image and the text, spacing is minus 25, and then I'm going to group. When you are done, just maintain the same spacing you had originally in the design. So we had 20 here, so I believe the spacing between items and it's 20 across the board. So what you just do is select all of this and then make it 20. That's essentially, so you just have to do it for the, I know that it's quite a bit, Next time I'm going to use a frame, so that resizing is going to be easier, but this time I use groups, so I switch between using frames and groups depending on whatever I'm doing. But anyway, that should be like a bonus practice for you. The reason why I'm changing things around, although it may seem tedious, is actually I was thinking, when I was learning UI UX design, one of the things that really helped me out is whenever I finish a tutorial or a project or an assignment, I'll now take what I've already created and then modify it. So someone was able to guide me through a process, and then I took the finished product and then modified it, and then kind of got a feel for moving things around, changing details, colors, corner radius, all the little details that will just make it your own per se. And that's why I actually was changing things so that you can see it. At the end of all my videos, I always encourage you to treat the project like a blank slate and then move things around and play around with it. And that was what I was trying to do. And I hope that this makes learning UI UX design. I don't want to say, oh, use this measurement, make here 300, make here 400, but I'm trying to give you a concept of design so that you can make your own unique designs, even if you are following along the steps and you're actually learning and assimilating something. So you can go ahead and finish up your designs. YouTube typically will not allow you to post links. It's going to probably delete it and flag you, like it doesn't like when you post links. But what I will say is, if you are confident enough and you've finished your designs, I would love to see images. The community tab is open, so you can share images. Maybe you decided that, oh, this menu isn't up to, like, you want to change the menu and you want it to be a different group. Maybe you want your restaurant to be a sort of vegan restaurant, or you want it to be more desserts where it's sweets and confectionery, or you want it to be simple meals or meal preps or things like that, where your restaurant is focused to a different theme of items. You can do that. One of the design I actually was considering when I was creating this was, I want to go back to my mood board, and I'm going to give this a moment. It's taking, there was a particular one that had a theme red, this red one. I really wanted to use this red one, but the red had more, will I say, of a playful feel. It was not like simple and elegant. So I was like, okay, next time when I'm doing like a food delivery service, or maybe like a pizza restaurant similar to what we have here, I could use the red. You could actually change this, like this red also. This was one that really caught my eye because it has red in it, but it's just kind of there. So let me just go back to, I want to use this color. Let me just pick a red color here. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to go back to, no, let me use all web pages. And I'm going to select this and I'm going to create a copy. Don't be afraid to, and again, before I forget, please create a copy before you modify, just in case. And the good thing about doing that is that if you keep the original and then you create a copy and then modify that one, you have two versions of the same website. You create a copy again, modify that one, you have three versions. So in your portfolio, you can say version 1, version 2, version 3, and then put images to demonstrate different changes you've made to the same design. So sometimes it happens like that you'll be changing the design. Doesn't mean you discard the old ones. You can just keep it and then you can refer to it, and even in your portfolio you can have multiple versions of the same thing. So I'm just going to paste that red here. I'm going to copy the code, select this entire home page, and let's say I didn't want to use that brown color and I wanted to use a different one. So for the gradient, I'm going to start with gradient, because if I change text, it's going to change the what will I say, the entire text to red, and I don't want that. So what I want to do is change the buttons and outlines where we have some rectangles. I'm going to paste them, and then you'll see here now outlines for the buttons are now red. What I can do also, you see also here, it has changed to red. That was the one, and I want to change the footer color. That's another place I would love to, if I change this entire thing, this button is going to change. No worries, we're going to just quickly change that. I'm going to switch this, and it's a kind of harsh red color, but at the same time I actually liked it. If I liked the design, but it didn't go with the theme. That's why I didn't use red. And you can see, just by changing the colors, now that we've changed the colors, you can maybe swap out the images, try a different color. In mood board, you even saw some that was purple, and sometimes I've used green. There was a website we'll do in the future. That one had the primary color was green and yellow. So I've used this, but not this shade, different shades. But I just wanted to show you how you can keep modifying your. So now I have two versions. I have the red, I have the brown. You can try it out, change colors, move things around, maybe even change the how, let's say, corner radius of the buttons. Maybe the buttons feel a bit too flat to you, and you'd prefer buttons with rounder. Let's try 16. Maybe you want a buttons with this corner radius. Changing little details like that will change the design entirely, but it all goes with a theme. And you just, anyway, it's all about practice, or just moving things around. I would love to see what you guys come up with. Just post images. Don't post links to the portfolio, to the your prototypes, but it will be fine to post images in the community tab. Anyway, that's it. I know that this has been a lot, and I really enjoyed making this project. As you can see, I made two versions of the same one, although the second one wasn't much work compared to the original. Anyway, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share and subscribe, and also leave me some comments, and I will see you in the next one.